Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
I'm ready.
Hello!
Hello!
I hate that as an intro.
I thought it was great.
So my name is Jase.
My name is Tannah.
And we're...
Best
dead.
friends.
Oh.
Dead? Our podcast is going to essentially be run by AI.
Yeah.
And so we are, as we go along, we're going to be asking questions to artificial intelligence, is what I have learned it is called. And
the best part of all of this is that Tannah has no idea what's going on.
none. You don't.
Sorry.
I'm not a techie person.
I'm going to be over here with my iPad talking to ChatGPT, and Tannah is just going to play along.
Yeah. I don't know what ChatGPT is either.
You have no clue.
I've never heard of that before.
You've never heard of the phrase ChatGPT?
No. I feel it. Well, okay. I have 3 jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I usually am on my phone just watching animal videos to calm myself down because I have 3 jobs.
I was going to make fun of you, but that feels valid. So that's why it's funny, because usually you would never use artificial intelligence in its state now for a finished product, and we're just doing it.
Yeah. Listen, we like to fly by the seat of our pants. I think that's genius.
And we're gonna talk about other stuff or whatever, but every now and again we're just gonna see what ChatGPT wants us to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited.
That's the whole thing.
Everyone else is gonna be excited too.
And on that note, get ready to dive into the world of podcast name, where we explore topic/subject like never before. Ellipses.
Ellipses?
Yeah, dot. The other thing about this is that we don't know what we're calling this podcast, right?
Yeah, nope, we don't.
By the time someone listens to this, they will know.
Yes.
But we currently do not.
You don't know.
AI is a bit in this show. So,
it helps us figure out what we're going to talk about.
But we are going to we're just talking about things that are happening. We're talking about each other. We're talking about our lives. That's the show. So I'm going to type in right now what we should call our podcast. So I'm currently it's like a text message, right?
Oh, interesting.
I'm literally just typing things into a chat box that's like a message. And I'm literally...
Is this like Cha-Cha? Do you remember Cha-Cha? Is that what it is?
That is the most unhinged comparison of AI. So what's happening is there is a kind of a neural network that is just a ton of information is being stored in this.
The internet.
It's kind of the internet. Not exactly. It's a little bit more specific than the internet, because this is going to a specific thing. OpenAI is the company. ChatGPT is what they've made. Okay. ChatGPT is this thing where, I guess like Cha-Cha, but it's a computer telling you the things. So when you're loading prompts for AI, you want to give it as much information about the thing that you can, so that it can give you the most correct response, right? For a D&D campaign, what is a cool place that I can take a barbarian, archer, all these different classes of beings. Yeah. What is a cool place that I can take them, or what's a cool quest that they can go on? And then it will just give you a list of responses.
Interesting.
It'll just take that information and it'll say a barbarian does this, so that it would be cool if a barbarian had to figure this out.
Am I going to be downloading this to my phone and just randomly putting stuff in?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's essentially, you can treat it like Google. And it's
accurate.
But it's making new stuff up. Not always. You have to fact check stuff. But for creative stuff, it's fun to figure things out. Yeah. There's also image creators. We can put that later. Okay. But where it will completely develop a new image.
Well, this is exciting. Yeah. I feel like I'm learning.
We're on the cutting edge of technology.
Yeah, we are. And also, I'm not going to be able to repeat any of that. So glad we're recording it.
So this is the prompt that I'm going to give it. We don't have a name.
No.
So I'm going to say, So help me come up with a name for a podcast featuring Tannah and Jase as hosts. We use AI to develop our show. We talk about funny things in life. Yeah?
That is 100%
Is that
accurate.
happening? Is that what's happening?
This is basically our friendship recorded.
Is there anything else that we should include in this prompt?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to send it. AI laughs. Tannah and Jase unplugged.
Okay, that's maybe.
Why is it unplugged? We're literally talking about technology.
And we're also plugged in.
So it's all in a chat. So for people listening, I'm showing Tannah the app on my iPad as we go through this. So it's literally like a chat box. So everything that you've said before, it will remember.
Oh.
And so like you can have a conversation. So I'm saying, give me another option. Chuckles unleashed the Tannah and Jase comedy connection.
There's a lot of S's in there.
It was really.
I feel like we have a hard time with it. Our audience will too, but maybe that's funny.
Yeah.
Chuckles unleashed. No, I feel uncomfortable with that.
I'm gonna say, give me one that's more focused on. What do you think? Technology or life.
Life. More, yeah.
Yeah. More. Life's laugh track. Tannah and Jase. Humorous insights. Life's laugh track is pretty good.
Yeah,
actually.
Life's laugh track is the alliteration.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I like that.
Jase and Tannah, Life's laugh track.
Is that good?
Is that good?
I love it. I think it's it. We did it. We did it.
Applause. Always works so well on a podcast.
Applause.
Okay, great.
I'm proud of that, actually.
That was fun.
That was way fun.
That was interesting.
Listen, people need to be having more chats with AI because, let's be honest, we don't know how to talk to like real people anymore. That was fun.
What do you mean by that?
I laugh more with that than I do with some people I
Than
meet
real
in the day.
This is a pretty water bottle. What's going on?
So I have an obsession with stickers.
Is it just memes?
Yeah, they're just... Well, there's a couple... I mean, there's memes, but there's a Little Mermaid one, and there's an Oh Snap from... And it's got... Andy from season 1 of Parks and Rec. We've got a That's What She Said. We've got our dapper Leonardo DiCaprio as the Great Gatsby, just cheersing you. And also my obsession with Shrek. And
wait, Shrek.
Disney's on there.
What does an obsession with Shrek constitute?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, I'm not joking. So, in the year of our Lord, 2012. Okay. I can't believe that's been 11 years now. But Shrek the Musical was on tour, and it came to my hometown. And my really good coworker was so nice and bought my other coworker and I, because we are very close, and we're still close to this day. They're lovely. Shout out to you two. I love you, Morgan and Jerry. Oh. But he bought us tickets to go see Shrek. It was so nice.
At Shrek the Musical.
At Shrek the Musical.
So, okay, this is 2011. This is Utah.
No, Montana, where I'm from.
Montana, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's an interesting. Do musicals often come through there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone lived there.
That's fair. That's actually where my obsession or my reaching out to cast members started.
Really?
Yes. So we'll give us some context.
Okay. Some context to that is every single time that I go to a show with Tannah, we end up somehow backstage.
And making friends with the cast.
During intermission, you message the cast.
Yes.
And say, hey, I love the show.
Yes.
Can we talk to you or whatever?
Yeah.
So and often they're very kind and nice, and they're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I did that. I messaged Fiona, Lord Farquaad, and Shrek. All three actually responded, and Mr. Shrek was so nice. He was like, his name is Perry Sook. He's actually now a television host for, I think, a news station, and I think he talks about sports, if I remember. So he was lovely. He was so nice. But he messaged me back and he was like, I would actually love to meet you. What are you wearing?
That's
so I can tell who you, know who you are.
Yeah.
And I got to meet Farquaad and Fiona, and then he came out and he gave me a couple things. He gave me sheet music and a couple merch items.
Nice.
So freaking nice. And then out of his bag And I still have it to this day. And then out of his bag, he pulls out the nose that he wore. And
on stage?
That he wore
just a sweaty nose?
It was... Well, he definitely cleaned it for me, but it was
that's nice.
The nose. And then now it is on my dash in my car.
I was going to say, I recognize a green blob that is in your car, and I've never asked what it is. I've never dared to.
Yeah, so I also love that musical. I think it's fantastic.
It's a great show.
It's also one of my favorite movies of all time. In fact, my brother and I were just texting about it yesterday because he sent me like 3-4 years ago a video of him watching the second movie.
Which is objectively the best one.
I love them both. The first and second equally. I love them so much. I cannot choose.
The second one is so good.
It is very good because Puss in Boots and the fairy godmother.
Maybe the most successful like sequel that I've ever seen. Like,
I agree.
It's so good connected to the first one. There's nothing that like makes you frustrated in the second one. It's like it's really good. It's genuine comedy. Yeah. They're not repeating anything. We should probably introduce ourselves. Okay, let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just typed in, what are some good get to know you questions?
Okay.
Into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through a couple of them. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? Right off the bat.
Well, it's actually, okay, so I'm the kind of person, if I really want to get to know you and become a good friend of yours, and I would love to have that reciprocated, I actually do tend to ask more like deeper emotional questions because I feel like it helps me figure out if I want to spend more time with you.
Oh, so that you can immediately leave.
Kinda. Yeah. Like, is this worth my time?
Okay, great. Fabulous.
But it's actually kind of how we met.
Okay.
Because we have a mutual friend, and at the time she was living in an apartment, and she had us come over and screen your zombie movie. And we watched the zombie movie, and that was the first time I ever met you.
That's so... Okay. For some reason, my brain was like the first time we met was when I was living in her basement, but I had forgotten that we had met.
Mm-hmm.
In her
that makes
apartment.
Me feel super special. Cool.
No, I'm not saying like...
I know. But yeah, that was the first time I met you, and I actually thought you hated me, which is pretty fair. And then...
Which is fair? Why?
Because of our next interaction.
What was our next interaction?
So they had moved out of the apartment and then into the house, right?
And I was in her basement.
Yes. And my gaydar is when I find someone attractive, they are gay.
Oh.
And I have rarely been wrong. And so I told them, I was like, I'm going to ask him on a date. And so I did.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay.
I think I was like, oh, sometime.
Yeah. You did.
One of these days.
You were like, no. And then I can't remember if we filmed that video before you went to Australia or
it was
afterwards.
Before. It was definitely before.
And so our mutual friend filmed that video of you and
so Tannah did a music video.
Yeah.
With
loosely.
It was for what was it for?
I don't remember. It was a contest of some sort.
But our friend wanted to film a video with you because you're very talented and funny.
Thank you.
And
we needed a very handsome man. And so we used Jase.
We need to be clear, a man.
A very handsome man. So she had on my poster two of my best friends, Clay and John.
Yeah.
On my inspiration board, like my want board in the music video. And we had the conversation of we need a very attractive man, and I was like, okay, so we have your husband or we have you. And that's it. And we use Jase because you are striking.
That is funny because you mentioned Clay and John, who Clay is the size of a mountain. And his bicep is bigger than my thigh. And then you have John, who is like a quarter of the size of my thigh. His whole body, actually.
But they are both so handsome. They're both so handsome. But yes, anyways, they were on the mood board, the inspiration board in the music video. But we needed a handsome man. And so I just remember we were sitting at the table and I was like caressing your hair.
Yeah.
We got real close for someone who was very
you.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, you did in the video. And I was like, what? And then I went into an a cappella song about how like that wasn't okay and whatever.
Yeah.
But that was like our first actual interactions I was like, okay, he made a zombie movie. Mm-hmm. And then I thought he was super attractive. And then I asked you on a date and you were like, sometimes.
There's some hesitation.
A significant amount.
The other thing about Tannah is that, like, so aggressive.
Yes. It's true. Aggressive love. It's true. You are so right.
Which is really nice. I've never seen someone just, like, walk up to people and compliment them so much. It's really nice.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work very well. I just fully believe in people. People need to know that other people recognize how special they are in some way. And I feel like we also live in this day and age where people don't know how to accept compliments. And so sometimes that's why it doesn't work out all the time.
Right.
Like, case in point, I was at Walmart and there was this guy who was shopping, doing whatever. And I complimented his eye color. And because it was like the brightest blue.
Okay.
And I complimented, I was like, hey, you have beautiful eyes. And he was like, yeah, my wife thinks so too. And I was like, whoa. And Ariel was like,
damn,
she's just complimenting you. Calm down. And I was like, thank you, Ariel.
What a deliberate, like, I will not.
Yeah.
No, I will not go out with you.
But also, don't assume somebody is hitting on, you know? Like, you can't.
People are yucky.
Also, I'm just friendly. And it often, like, oh, they're flirting. I'm like, no, I'm literally just complimenting you.
Can I ask you another question from AI?
Do you want to answer the most embarrassing? Because the most embarrassing was the way that you were like, maybe.
No, that is not the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened. But that's ever happened to you?
Oh, not ever. But in our relationship, because that's how I associate it. Like, what's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to us?
Do you want to ask me another question here, or do you want me to answer the embarrassing one?
Let's do another question.
Okay.
If you were to create a slogan for your life, what would it be?
A slogan for my life?
Because I feel like we should talk a little bit about you as well, because now they know a tiny bit. So, for those of you who don't know, you now know, Jase is absolutely striking. He's one of the nicest people, most talented writer that I have come in contact. Listen, you know of my obsession with your musical that you wrote. He's fantastic with a camera, both in photography and film.
I've never considered consolidating my life into a slogan.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Mine would literally just be my nickname, which is Tannanigans.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice.
That's my slogan. I don't think it works as a slogan, but it's fine.
Oh, I think it does. I think it perfectly encapsulates you.
Yeah.
This is really hard, actually.
It is a hard question. Mayhaps we'll come back to it. We've known each other since when? When did you make the zombie movie? When did you premiere it? Was that 2017?
I think I made it in like 2014, 2015.
And then you premiered it in 2016?
Or like 15. And then, because I think we watched it, was it the first time that I showed it to anyone? Mm-hmm. When you, really? Mm-hmm. It must have been then. Yeah, it must have just taken a long time to edit.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, so we've known each other for a really long time. Yeah. And we met because film.
But I worked for many years. I went to BYU as like a film person, as like a creative. Yeah. Like someone who makes stuff. You wouldn't get it. And then later just I started working on TV shows and movies and stuff after that. And now I work a corporate job because I'm exhausted. Yeah. I think that's my slogan. I'm exhausted is my slogan.
Relatable content.
That is absolutely.
Honestly. Relatable content.
If you were to do my first and last name, that has to be on my gravestone, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's perfect.
That's funny.
Yeah. Thank you.
I like it. I like it. But then we became good friends. You went off to Australia. You came back and
I fled the country for a little bit. Yeah, and then
you came back and it was like all of a sudden
we became really good friends. I'm not sure exactly what the turning point was.
I don't remember. We probably ate food and laughed a lot. And
I'm sure
this is good.
And then
we went to Japan.
Then we went to Japan together,
and that was so fun. I was honestly kind of worried about it because
You thought I was going to hate you after?
I did. Because you always hear stories about people who go traveling with their best friends and they've never done it before. Mm-hmm. And, like, when you're dating somebody, like, you should go on a trip, a couple trips to see how they are. Yeah. And I was like, what if he hates me at the end of this? Which I was worried you might. And I actually worried that you hated me during it because I didn't know how to navigate. I'm not a tech person, you guys. When we got off the plane, I didn't know how to get to our friend that we were visiting. And I also didn't know how to navigate or do anything because our phones didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really glad you didn't end up hating me. Oh, pinky up. Make it classy.
I don't understand why you think people will ever hate you, to be honest.
Because I am an honest person. I'm not a kind person. I tell you exactly what I think. Which is also a thing with the compliments. Like, I it's literally like anxiety in my head if I don't share it.
I think that's, like, true, but I also think that, like, what you think is generally nice. Like, I think you're the type of person that's, like, people are generally good. And you project that.
Yeah. And then I'm really sad sometimes when they end up not being good.
But that doesn't reflect your personality. That's on them. That's what I'm saying.
But it's also kind of a, hey, you're too trusting. You should maybe...
Do you?
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
Like, how many times is somebody burned because they think that this person is really, really good, and then you end up being so blindsided by how actually toxic they are, and you're like, oh, so...
But I don't think that's you, is what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but also, like, people should be a little bit less trusting than I am.
Of you?
Than I am with most people.
Oh.
Because what you see is what you get with me, which I think is pretty uncommon. Let's. I have a joke for you first. Okay, I've been wanting to ask you the joke.
Tannah literally, like, during the setup process for this was insane, and it took like hours. So and the whole time Tannah has like wanted to tell me this joke.
Yeah.
Flashback.
Funny.
It's not funny. I'm gonna be angry.
I honestly will be sad if you don't think it's funny.
End of flashback.
Said knock knock.
Who's there?
Yodel lady.
Say it.
Say it. Say it. Say it.
Yodel lady. Who?
Why are you yodeling?
Okay.
I'm sad you didn't laugh very Anyway. Okay, I have a question that's not an AI question.
There was a lot of build-up.
Okay, but it was funny. I actually do have a legitimate question.
Okay.
You'll get to know us on the podcast, obviously. But okay. How do you know when you are in love versus loving something?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I ask this because you are in one of the most healthy relationships. It's something that people
that
covet.
You know of. I think, first of all, like, it's really important that it's, like, a very personal thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it's gonna look so different it's such, like, it's an emotion, right? So it's such an ethereal thing that is valid for a lot of people. But, like, you don't know what you haven't felt, kind of a thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, there's that aspect to it where people can describe it to you, but it's like, that's not how I experience love. Or,
sure.
Like, that's not how my partner experiences love.
Sure.
I think the biggest thing is that you recognize what that is, though. Like, how am I experiencing love? How are they experiencing love? And is that, like, a connecting force, or is it a dividing force? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because,
like, some people experience love in, like very spend all the time in the world with me. And that's valid, and like.
Well, my love language is actually time. Like, that's how I receive it.
And if you genuinely like being with that person all the time, then it's a valid thing.
Yeah.
But if the other person experiences love in a very much like in a more like secluded way, I'm gonna burp into the microphone.
Okay, but that's so relatable. Listen, we love it. We have AI ask us questions, and
we went and got Panda Express for lunch.
You did?
And I am bloated as. And so...
I ate cereal.
Oh.
Or like at like
no, that's
10.
good. We didn't eat any. We cleaned for most of the day.
Good for you. I did not.
Anyways, I don't know. For me, I'm like, the biggest thing was like being with someone who was willing to put in as much as I was willing to put in. Because I feel like I'm a very like, I feel like I would be a very exploitable person.
In what way?
Like I would give and give and give, and if I'm not getting anything back, then it could be like a very toxic thing.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
okay.
having that like cyclical connection, and I like being with people at least that I care about a lot. Right. So like we do everything together.
Yeah.
So having someone that is also like that is helpful.
Sure. Okay, well, the reason why I asked that question is I recently met somebody who, I mean, I'm one of those people that really, I love good energy. Mm-hmm. And I've met some people that are very similar to this gentleman, and I couldn't stop talking about him to my friends. Like, I missed him after I met him and we chatted. And the reason why I met him, so I work at this theme park. I'm the assistant director, and my job is to make sure that my actors are safe, but I also tend to watch the patrons and make sure that they are doing okay. And this gentleman was doing something. I later found out he was stretching his back, but it looked like he was in pain. Like it looked like he had hurt himself or something. And so I was like, okay, do I need to get our AI team? Oh my gosh.
Our AI team. What do I do when someone's injured?
Oh my god.
What do I do with a broken back?
But I was like, do I need to get our ENT? ENT? Not ear, nose, throat doctor. Oh my hell. Our EMT.
EMT.
Our medic. Gosh.
Yeah.
Tannah, get it together. And so I went over and I was like, hey, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, fine. And I was like, okay, well, I just saw you over there.
I just thought you were dying.
I kind of did say that. But not that way. I should have. That would have been funnier. Darn it. But it ended up, we were just chatting, and he is unlike anybody I've met in the sense that he, one, knows how to carry on a conversation. Yeah. He's inquisitive, but he's also got such, I want everyone to meet him because he's so lovely. And then I found myself after meeting him and chatting with him for a little bit, I was like, I want to know, I just want to know, I want to know who he is. I want to find out what makes him laugh and like what makes him, what his drive is and what makes him happy, like all of these things. And so we had said our goodbyes because I have tunnel vision when I work. Like I can't get distracted too long. Otherwise I'm like, I'm not doing my job, and I self-deprecating, like I'm the worst, whatever. It's fine. Work on that in therapy.
Millennial.
Yeah. So then a week went by, and I found myself like hoping that I was going to see him again. And I didn't see him on Friday at the park, and I was kind of bummed. But then you and I and your partner and my roommates, we all went to the farmer's market that we have at the park. And I saw him. And I'm curious what your take is on what happened from there.
So we saw him, we turned around and started talking, and then I turned back and you were over there. I think that's what happened.
Oh my gosh. Because my first thought...
But then you told us about, like, his friend owns, like, a little tea thing.
Yeah.
So we went to, like, their tent and, like, looked around at the stuff.
And I also really needed everyone that is in my friend group to tell me if he is gay or straight. Because, again, my gaydar is if I find someone attractive...
And on my end, again, this is what happened. So we were in the tent with him. Yeah. Maybe, like, 10 feet away. Yeah. And you looked at me, and you said, "Tell me if he's gay." And you pushed me towards him.
Did I?
I don't know. You kind of. I think you just kind of nudged me.
Ew, gosh, desperate. But he was also with a customer, and I kind of felt bad, and it was weird because I knew that.
Does he work at the shop, the little tea place?
Okay. So he's just there helping out his friend. Okay. Yeah. I later find out he does other things, but. Okay. He's a very charitable person, so when his friend needs help, he comes and helps him.
It's really nice.
Right? He's good. And yeah. Anyway, so he noticed that I was in there, and he kept looking up, And I was like, I feel weird because he's with a customer. And anyways, so we're like, okay, we're just going to leave. So we leave the tent. Yeah. And then he comes out the other exit and beelines it for me and gives me a hug. And he was like, you weren't going to say hi? And I was like, well, you were with a customer. I didn't want to be rude. And then we were chatting.
And he emphasizes, this is the weird part to me, because you've told me the story. Mm-hmm. But he emphasizes how much he does not want to be in a relationship.
Yeah. So I find that out afterwards. So we go away and we say hello and do our thing. We leave. And then I'm a ballsy person.
True.
I don't really care what people think of me. But
Which, can I say, is like such a nice trait.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I feel like it's a 50-50 thing.
No. It's like, it's something, it's like, so even doing this, I'm like, the main concern that I have is like people gonna be like
mean to us.
I
feel like they're gonna be meaner to me than they are to you because
When I used to make YouTube videos when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I would just like focus it on that mean.
Listen.
This is gonna be a journey.
It's gonna be a journey.
Continue your story.
I don't remember.
No,
we were talking
you're a ballsy person.
50. Oh yeah. So anyways, we were chatting and I turned to your partner and I was like, okay, you're straight. And he was like, I'm getting pretty major straight vibes. And I was like, yes, finally. Because I do a lot of musical theater. Like that is my thing. I do a lot of musical theater and I don't spend a lot of time with heterosexual men. And I'm pan-romantic, but I am heterosexual. Okay. And I wish that I were just a lesbian because I feel like it'd be easier, but I'm unfortunately attracted to
just
men.
a lesbian.
Yeah.
That's the name of the podcast.
Could you imagine?
There's no lesbians involved.
Representation.
I agree.
We do.
No, I agree.
We do.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I was like chatting and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get his phone number.
Yeah.
And so I go, and this is just me at this point. I'm looking in the camera. I just want you to know I was to my own devices left here. And so I went over and I was like, okay, I'm an improv actor. I'm just gonna like be smooth.
You improv it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna improv it.
Improv dating?
Yeah. I told my roommate that we should start going to speed dating and see what happens because.
Do they still do that?
They do still do that. Oh. But she was like, no, we need to go line dancing. And I'm like, girl, I am a plus-sized woman.
Also terrible.
No, I am not about to be holding hands. One, because I feel like I'm a germaphobe and I need to wash my hands like every 2 hours.
But also, what a horrible environment.
Yeah, it's too sweaty. I like to smell good.
I don't even like going to bars or like clubs or anything.
Me either.
I'm too tired. So like everyone doing the same dance.
Yeah.
First of all, boring.
Yeah.
Second of all, if that's the activity on Saturday, it's not gonna work out.
Anyway, so I go off and get to see if I can get this individual's phone number.
Yeah.
So I go over and I'm like, hey, do you want to go to lunch with us? Because we're about to leave. My roommate's hungry and
I didn't know you asked him to lunch.
Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I don't actually eat like a normal human.
I actually don't eat food.
I'm like, vampire. Anyway, so he was like, well, I don't eat as often as a normal human, and he's very health conscious.
Oh, he does the like, what is it called? Intermittent fasting.
No, intuitive eating, I think is what it's called. I later found out more, and I won't share that because it's his story and whatever. But he was like, oh, no, I can't. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, can I ask you a personal question? Oh. And he thought it was going to be like, are you single? Whatever. I'm pretty damn sure that's what he thought it was going to be. And he was like, sure. And I was like, what's your last name?
Which, okay, to be fair, you were going to ask him if he's single.
Oh, yeah.
But you knew, you saw it in his eyes and you pivoted.
I did. That's the thing about being an improv actor. You have to be able to read.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Lessons. But anyways, he told me his last name and I was like, oh, and he was like, why did you want to know? And I was like, well, because I want to become friends with you. Like, I want to find you on social media and be friends with you. Because that's literally how you decide if you're friends with somebody. It's you're friends with them on Facebook or like Instagram. He doesn't have those.
Because you gotta make sure there's not a serial killer.
Yeah, but I work for a criminal background screening company, so I could actually find out a lot about him. I won't.
Did you do it?
I will not.
No, did you do it?
I found out about him through him. And I feel like that's the best way.
Did you do it?
No, I did not. Looking at you in the eyes, looking at you in the eyes, looking at you in the eyes. Yeah.
Did you do it?
I did not.
Okay.
Because I respect the privacy.
Okay.
Also, I need a tiny bit more to go off of than just his last name.
Also, I need some more information.
Well, that's not true. I can actually find out a lot about an individual just by the first and last name through a certain search, but
like,
I didn't
you
do
need like
it.
a birth date.
Anyway, so we were chatting a little bit, and he was like very adamant to let me know that he's just wanting to be friends.
Yeah, sure.
And I totally respect that. Obviously, I pivoted. I recognized, and then I was like, I should have looked before I said this, but I'm really glad it worked out. But I was like, well, I figured you were married anyway. And then I looked down and he had a tattoo on his finger.
Like a ring tattoo?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, and anyway, and so I was like, oh, thank the Lord that he's got a tattoo. And because usually.
So you thought you're like, it's over. We're just going to be friends.
Yeah. And which I'm totally fine with. Like, I love making friends.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I was like, oh, that's fine. And then he's like, something changed in his eyes when I said that I had assumed he was married, and he said, well, I was. And I immediately thought, oh my goodness, he's a widower. And that's so heartbreaking, but that's not the case.
Okay.
But anyway, so I was like, yeah, and he was like, but you could take down my phone number. And
so
I was
he
like,
gave it to you.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, friends. And multiple times, the first time we met the week before, I don't know how it happened. We just talked about the most random things that were they were deeper than a surface level, significantly deeper. And he was continually taken aback by the fact that we were so compatible. Mm-hmm. And he kept making comments about that. And he was like, he kept saying
we're so compatible?
Yeah. He kept saying that.
Okay.
I like him.
I think I need to slap him.
I like him. I like him a lot, actually. Okay. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
But I'm trying really, really hard not to read into it because
you don't want to be disappointed.
Right. I don't want to be disappointed, but I also want to respect his boundaries that he put up there, which are, I just want to be friends. And again, now knowing what I know, I fully respect that, and I don't expect to go anything.
Okay.
But afterwards, so we saw him at the farmer's market, got his phone number, whatever, and we started texting while we were at brunch. And he is so funny. Both
I did see a lot of GIFs happening in that.
Yeah, we'll have conversation solely through GIF.
Okay.
Or GIF? I respect whatever way you want to say it.
I hate GIFs so much. If you ever say that to me, I will leave the conversation.
Oh, okay. I will make sure I say GIF with you.
Yeah.
I also automatically autocorrect myself to GIF. It's just the natural way I say it instead of GIF. So also GIF is peanut butter.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Can I so I typed in per your question earlier, I typed in to ChatGPT, how do I know if I'm in love?
Oh.
Let me see.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It says.
Yeah.
So, determining if you're in love can be deeply personal and subjective experience, as it can vary from person to person. However, there are a few common signs that may indicate you're in love.
Okay.
1, strong emotional connection. This is a machine. There's a computer trying to tell you how.
I also need to point out that after work on Saturday.
Is it check?
Yeah.
Strong emotional connection?
Yes, check. Yeah.
What happened?
So, during work, that Saturday, so a week after we'd met, that whole day, like met at the farmer's market on Saturday, or caught up at this. Anyways, that night he was also still there and chatty.
And he came back. So for full context, we went to the farmer's market, which is separate than the actual park event.
Correct.
And then you work there.
Yeah.
So we went to the farmer's market, had some fun, left. Mm-hmm. You went back for work, and he left after his friend's business took down and left.
Yeah.
Then he came back to the actual park event.
No, he came back. So the vendor works as the vendor for both.
Oh, okay.
Because we have vendors during park open as well. Not just the farmer's market.
Okay.
So, yeah, but they did leave and they came back, and he's lovely and is there to help his friend, right?
And I think in the conversation that I overheard when we were close to you and you were talking was that he was not going to return.
Correct.
And then he ended up coming back when he found out that you were working that night.
I would love to assume that that's a thing.
But you like invited him to come back.
Well, I was like, I hope I see you later. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he made that decision.
Okay.
I would think not, based on the conversation I had with him later in the day, the evening. But it was so interesting because I have a lot of hats that I juggle at my job, at this specific job. And I was running around and he sent me a text and he was like, hey, I saw you appear and then disappear. I noticed. And I was like, But I didn't see that until after I had come back and checked on him and just seeing how he was. And then we would chat and we talked about all these things. And it was really interesting because he had put that boundary up.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to ask him questions and he was getting a little bit like fidgety. And so I was like, okay, he clearly doesn't want to talk about it.
Sure.
His friend comes out, the vendor.
Okay.
Who is also equally super fun. But I don't know. And the vendor ends up taking over the conversation. He finds out that I do a lot more than just what I do at the park.
Okay.
And so he's like, I need to network at the moment with me for whatever reason. And so he...
Hate it.
What?
Hate it.
Networking, but it's fair. It's fair. You know, like people do, you know.
Tannah does 1,000 things.
I do 1,000 things. Then looked actually a little bit annoyed at the fact that I got taken away. And I'm just, that's just from my thing and
I get it.
Whatever. Like, read into it if you want to. I'm trying really hard not to. Yeah. But he talked to me for about 10 minutes and finally I was like, okay, I'm going to go back out. One, I have to check. I need to do my job. But also I miss this person I actually missed him.
Can I tell you what the second thing that ChatGPT says?
Yes.
Constant thoughts. You find yourself thinking about this person frequently and even when they're not around.
Makes me sad that I feel like this is going to be a one-sided situation. It's good to learn because I've been in love one time, but I learned through that I can love outside of the normal love that I was used to, which is loving my parents and my brother and like my family, and just like my friends, right? And Clay taught me that, and this feels very similar, and it makes me. I'm a little bit annoyed at the fact that I've caught feelings so quickly. Anyway, so his vendor friend goes back in to help the customer, and then he and I are chatting, and I told him, I basically just told him that I was putting out in the like all that good thoughts towards him, and he was like kind of taken back by that, and I told him, I was like, well, maybe it's a little bit selfish on my part, but I feel like you're going to be good for me in some way, but I also recognize that you're getting a little bit uncomfortable with me asking you questions, and he goes, it's not because I'm uncomfortable with it. It's because people don't usually do it. Mm-hmm. They don't take the time to want to. And he physically, he wrapped his arms around himself and then he looked at me and he was like, he was smiling and kind of like chuckling to himself. And I was like, what? And he was like, nobody talks like that. Like people don't talk like that. And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, you make me feel really good. And like I have worth, and I was like, well, you do. But he was like, well, what are you doing later? And I was like, oh, he's like, when you're done sending all of your actors home, like, what do you do? And I was like, I usually have like a debriefing with the other management and see what I need to report to my boss if there's anything, whatever, and write some reports out. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, but why? And he was like, I was just wondering. And I was like, well, what are you doing after this? And he was like, nothing. And I was like, do you want to get together and chat more? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay. So we did. And before we were alone, one of my dear friends who I happened to work with, she was asking him all these questions, like very personal questions, and he was answering her. And I found that very interesting because he wouldn't answer mine. And I was like, I wonder, maybe it's the way she's phrasing it. I don't know. But I later found out that she was watching his body language, and she was like, he was answering my questions, but he was watching you. She was like, I was literally watching, he was watching you to see how you would react to his answers. And so we spent until 4:00 this morning, actually, we were chatting.
Not but 12 hours ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. But he was so nice because he sent me a text at 4:30 in the morning and he thanked me for a lovely night, and I was like, yeah, of course, like we talked about a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Buddy.
I had to keep saying, I was like, and I texted him this morning in response, and I was like, good morning, friend. And I sent him a picture of Tag, my dog, and And I was like, good morning from the tag. Hope you have a lovely day, my friend.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to reiterate, like, I do, as much as I would love to continue to get to know him and maybe see where it goes, I also recognize that he's not at a place for that. That's why I asked you that question, was how do you know, like, what is the difference between being in love with somebody and just loving somebody?
I do think that there's something to infatuation that's a little bit different, of like, you don't know someone in like a week.
Very true.
So like, I think love is like a very persistent thing as well.
Okay.
Like, it's a constant
Sure.
building of something rather than just I don't know.
Well, I definitely have love for him.
Yeah.
But I don't, gosh, if he were to listen to this and be like, she be cray. I'm not in love with him, but I want to spend more time with him.
I just typed something into ChatGPT.
Okay. To chat what?
ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the name.
Yeah.
Wow.
To the computer.
Yeah.
I just typed in,
You got it. You did it. Good job.
Thank you. I just typed in how to get out of the friend zone.
Oh. Okay.
Communicate your feelings.
Sure.
But I guess you've kind of solidified that like option, you know.
Yeah.
Create some distance. If the person is aware of your feeling but does not share the same romantic interest, it can be helpful to create some space and allow both of you to adjust to the new dynamic. This can give you time to heal and potentially open the door for new opportunities. Also, focus on yourself and explore other options. It's not helpful at all. It's like, how do you get out of the friend zone? Date someone else. Incredible.
Like I said, though, there's not a lot of options because I do musical theater, and most of the guys that I'm around are the best gay men ever.
Yeah.
So, bummer. I don't know, but if you believe in astrology, at the moment, currently, Venus, the love planet, is in Leo, and I am a Leo. So the next 4 months are, according to the astrology chart, is supposed
time
to
to
be...
bang.
Well... Yikes. Ew, I don't even want to see myself naked. I would never subject this. He is walking art.
Okay, so first of all, shut up. Second of all, you look stunning right now.
Thanks. I showered today.
But I mean it. Truly. Because even yesterday, now it feels weird because I'm going to say you wore the same outfit.
I did, and I'm proud of it. I'm not ashamed. I'm wearing my swimming suit right now because yesterday I didn't have any fresh laundry. And also my swimming suit's cute. But today I had dance.
It is cute. And the moment I saw you, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, you did, which was really, really nice. Yeah. I have, though, to be completely candid, never made out with anybody. The most kissing I've ever done in my life was when I was in Drowsy Chaperone, and I was the chaperone, and I had to smooch Alf-Face.
Who is also homosexual.
Yes, and a lovely human.
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so... Man, it's already been like an hour, so I don't know how much longer we can go.
Yeah.
But that is also fascinating to me.
What?
Just do you have like an aversion to like a romantic connection? Because you mentioned earlier that you're like a pan-romantic.
Yeah.
But do you get too nervous when you get close to people? Is there just no one that you've felt?
Well, I've never done that. I've never done it. So there's that fear of like, what if I'm bad at it? But also at the same time, I have through therapy, and just just growing up and my brain is maturing.
Yeah.
I recognize that I do need an emotional connection before I have any type of intimacy.
Sure. And
so I feel like that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also I've been on dates and guys very few have expressed interest in me, in dating me. And ironically, 3 of the 4 guys that I've actually ever been on dates with in my adult life ended up coming out as gay.
Babe's a little bit unlucky.
I'm very unlucky, and I'm not upset about it. Like, I have a dog, and I have
because ratio-wise, at least one.
I think that's why the opportunity has never arisen, and the most smooching I've ever done is on stage, and most of the guys I'm attracted to are gay. So there's that.
Can we go out on one more question that I think is funny?
I'm not joking. Next time, I'm gonna be the one working the chat.
The ChatGPT?
Yeah. Because I feel awful that I've been talking the most.
No, you shouldn't feel awful.
It's weird.
If you were a vegetable, which vegetable would you be and why?
I would be an asparagus.
Asparagus?
Yeah, asparagus.
Why?
Because it is so tasty. Bacon wrapped asparagus covered in balsamic. It's good. I don't know. That's probably also the only vegetable I eat a lot of.
Yeah.
Which is asparagus.
Yeah.
Asparagus. But followed closely would be zucchini and squash.
You are all those things. Is that what you're saying?
If I were, it would be one of those three.
Okay.
But my first answer, I stick to it, asparagus.
Okay.
Asparagus. What would you be?
Incredible. I think I would be like a radish.
Really?
Just like a little spicy.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I love that.
You eat it and you're like, oh, this is a turnip, and then it's not a turnip.
She's got a surprise. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And on that note, from the asparagus and the turnip.
And the turnip.
This has been, what did we name it?
What did we call it? Life's Laugh Track.
Life's Laugh Track with
Tannah and Jase and AI or something.
Yeah, something.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Love you.
We love you. Thanks for watching and listening.
And I guess check out a YouTube channel for more shorts and little extra things, and to see us in person. We'll do as much as we feel like we have energy to.
Yeah, let's be honest. Because you're tired and I'm shenanigans.